All right, let's get on to my topic. I don't have some really cool hip new stuff like these other guys here
Oh my God.
who talk about all these relevant topics. I want to talk about something that's we've had this a while in the gaming market, and I kind of want to think where you has this run its course, or is it a gimmick, or do you guys think that we're actually going somewhere with this? I want to talk about virtual reality gaming. This is I kind of got the inspiration on this topic when someone potentially leaked. It hasn't. We don't know for sure, obviously. That
Yeah, there's no telling.
yeah, some details about the PS5. And one of the uh, things that stuck out to me the most when like the five details they talked about were that it would have integrated like VR capability in the system. Which says two things to me. One, that if this is true, the PS5 is going to be freaking expensive as crap, and two,
Yeah,
that this is just VR, which I'm not a fan of.
that
Obviously,
alone, I think, means that is not that rumor or whatever is false.
I would hope so, but it wouldn't surprise me, Mel. It wouldn't
Because
surprise me.
PSVR already is like almost as much as a console, and
Yeah.
like they made PS4 on like PS4 came about and they were like the marketing and all that was or like when they announced it at D3 they were like all in on it being a gaming console without like extras because the Xbox had all the media stuff and the Kinect. Like
Yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of people were very happy when they stated that.
Right.
No, we're not doing any of that for our machine. It's gonna be a gaming console.
I don't know. Maybe they fell in a bit too big for their britches.
I mean, that
stomping down on Microsoft.
The other part is that tracks like they swap every like Gen 2 was PS2 and then Gen 3 was Xbox 360 and now Gen 4 is kind of PlayStation 4 is more on top, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it is a much smaller divide and like the like people don't the console wars aren't really a thing anymore, but so there's a chance that happens again, but I would hope they've learned their lesson from the PlayStation 3.
Yeah. So, what do you guys more think about, like, where VR is going? Can it be an actual thing? Is it going to, like, sell systems? Is it a gimmick, or is it, like, actual real deal business? I just don't like it because, like I was saying earlier, I can't play first-person games, so I definitely can't play virtual reality games.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it is just how there's still, I think, a big wall for users like that. And then the feeling of getting sick and whatnot.
Yeah, because even people who don't get sick playing first-person shooters have that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's actually, I believe, I don't remember what the term it's coined as, but it is a motion sickness. People are actually getting this.
The tummies.
I believe it's called VR sickness, and it is a reaction to the fact that what your eyes are perceiving, but your equilibrium, understanding, is not lining up and corresponding to the brain, and it causes people to get a motion sickness. It's almost like you're on the deck of a ship and people get seasick. That thing is happening to people. Their body isn't able to comprehend the fact. And I'll admit I play with VR a bit, and that's even happened to me while playing some VR, and I don't know what the hell I did because I was fine, and then suddenly it just hit me. I just turned, I looked at something random, and suddenly my body was like, "No, stop, cease, desist."
I get the same feeling when I read in the car.
Yeah. Oh, Lily gets the same problem when she reads in the car as well. She can't read in the car; it'll actually give her motion sickness.
Yeah, that's what it does to me.
So this is a big problem. As for just in general, I don't know, man. This feels kind of gimmicky. They tried pushing this like 10, 20 years ago in the late 90s.
Remember the Virtual Boy?
Yeah, the Virtual Boy, which was a travesty in and of itself.
It wasn't really VR, but still.
But I mean, it was an attempt. I mean, VR has always been a big thing. We've always wanted like the cool, full-on immersion into a game world. I mean, even anime and books have now started to really.
Yeah, everyone wants Ready Player One's type of setup.
Yeah, and that's really the thing, and it's cool. And there's no reason why it wouldn't be, because it would be badass. But we're not there yet. We're not even close to there. It takes a giant ass console to house a game world that looks even remotely good, set within like 50 gigs or more of information.
But Meta, I want to die in the game, so I die in real life. How am I supposed to get that?
How am I supposed to get
You set up something that detects when you die and rig it to a gun.
Yes.
It just shoots you.
Right.
It pulls the trigger.
How ironic that I was stabbed in the game but shot in real life.
Oh no. Some series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think VR has always been kind of this more magical thing in our minds than it really is going to be.
It's like 3D TVs.
Yeah. Like 3D TVs, which are also stupid. They're just hard. I mean, it's just not only is it not even at the level of what we want or what we wish for VR to be and what it's currently at, it's hard to program. Like the way some technology is seeing things and you've got like the VR for like the headset where you just take on the face view of a character in the game. That's okay. But that's not really taking into account what people want. And they want is the fact that they put this headset on. And then suddenly you're in this virtual world and like all your motions mirror your own motions in the real world, or your mind thinks those motions and those motions. That's what people. We're not even close.
We want augmented reality. I want to put on my Google glasses and go catch Pokemon on my Pokemon Go.
Augmented reality, I think, is far closer to.
It's more doable.
It's more doable, just because it's taking what is already a part of reality and just augmenting. It's harder to make a virtual world than it is to just change or modify the current. And I don't know.
I think it's still got a bit to go. And I mean, as long as there are a lot of companies behind it right now, so as long as like that keeps up, I think it could get there.
Are we really getting AAA games?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that the game side of things, I think, still lacks quite severely. Like, there's some good stuff. Like, Super Hot is pretty good on the VR. There's supposed to be
RE7 is supposed to be really good VR.
RE7, but like, we're not getting dedicated AAA games for it either. Like, so
how about that Final Fantasy 15 VR, the greatest VR game of all time?
I think it would take a game that's built for VR, like not even for consoles, but I don't think anyone can take that risk, or maybe they probably even shouldn't. Like,
they probably shouldn't, considering the cost of what games are nowadays. It's insane. That could potentially kill the.
I could see it in another like year or two, maybe even, or I don't know what necessarily the generation cycle of these VR systems are, but like the new, was it the Vive, or whichever one was coming out that was like wireless. Like some more iterations on that sort of thing, to where it like slims down, gets cheaper, I think will be a much larger impact.
That's a problem too, that they're so expensive.
Yeah, like the hardware and the software are just not there yet, I think, on both sides.
That's exactly. I mean, like to give an example, like when you're trying to, one of the biggest issues they had, at least for the bot, when they were doing the whole Kinect thing. One of the biggest issues that they ended up actually running into was that screen projects out. I mean, in the simplest terms, I'm grossly simplifying. Essentially, projects out this 3D grid, and it takes account into depth on this 3D grid. That's why you always have to be standing in a certain area for it to work. Biggest problem they ran into was the elbow joint, because if your hand extended out, guess what? It also took a notice of your hand as a joint as well. But if your hand extends out too much, it starts to blur what it can see, and it starts to mix and match what the hand joint is and the elbow joint, which caused issues for detection problems, which meant that it not only didn't know fully where your hand was supposed to be because it was trying to differentiate between the two, but it also meant that it may not go with a confirmation through a reaction or a button press or something because it wouldn't be able to differentiate. Now, that problem's not really an issue anymore because now you've just got like the little controllers and whatnot, but that's something else that's there as well. Is you have to have these stupid little controllers in your hand.
You gotta have your moves
around.
You gotta move around.
You're essentially doing dual Wii sticks at this point. All right,
you have to like have a dedicated area because you have to set up the you have to hold the things, but you also have to set up the sensors.
Yep, and the sensors have to be able to detect you because they're still utilizing that as well because they're still detecting.
Yeah, the PS4 one's a mess. Cords everywhere.
All over the place. What and that's what I was like. That's what I'm saying with Mal on this one. Is I think this is just something that like the software is not there. We need people to actually try to design for this and really invest in.
Yeah, I mean, if you threw enough money at it, you could get there on both sides.
I'm
like
sure
if
you could.
a $10,000 VR setup on the hardware, and then if someone actually funded a AAA style game for it, you could be there. But it's just too much of a risk right now, or just like no one wants to take that. Obviously do that, and it's not cost effective. Like you can't sell $10,000 equipment to users.
No, you can't. I mean, that's
why Google Glass hasn't gone anywhere. It costs like $1,000 for a set, and they kind of discontinued that.
Yeah.
So
why? I don't know. I like the idea of VR though, because I still like the rosy nostalgia. Not the rosy nostalgia, there's really no nostalgia for it. I like the rosy view that we have.
The rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, it's those rose-colored glasses, but looking towards the future, less so than 2020 hindsight.
We're getting a bit too far ahead of ourselves on it.
That's really what I think it's at. Is that the tech isn't there, software just isn't backing it, and the hardware's not there for it yet. For what we have right now, it's big and bulky, requires tons of space, and what people really want, and this is what you really need. I think not even what people want. This is what you need for it to succeed. You need the software to back it, which Mal's already talking about. You need the hardware to back it. Mal also talked. You also need, in those, and more specifically, you need software that's going to get people to want to come back and play like an actual game, which comes into the AAA. You need it to be an actual game, something that people can download. But that's not the ideal that people want. Those worlds where they jump into it as a player themselves. They are themselves in this world, and yet it's still just that a virtual world. You need to also reduce the space that this needs to be done in. Not everybody has giant areas that they can set up.
Especially outside of the U.S.
Yeah,
where living spaces get so much smaller.
Oh yeah. People need to be able to essentially do it in their own bedroom, and if you can't do it in your bedroom, that's going to fail. The price for this as well, the price, I mean, is going to vary because it's going to depend on what software is for and whatnot. But right at the moment, it's really hard to justify getting the price of this equipment to do what we're doing right now when there's nothing there to support. I'm sure the price will, justify itself if there was like awesome.
It's really like you can't. People don't want to buy the system because they don't have the games to play on it. People don't want to make the games because not enough people have the hardware.
Exactly.
And
it's its own. It's a snake.
It's just not profitable right now.
I mean, you could also get away with like things like Fallout 4 and Skyrim in VR, and I think that's a good sort of if you're not going to design a full game.
Yeah, just remake some old stuff.
But that style of game, I mean, it's just more immersive already.
They should do No Man's Sky VR.
That would probably be actually really good in VR.
It probably would.
The other thing I think that also needs to be really taken into account with this kind of tech and is, of course, whoops.
It's phone calls.
Shut up,
the
phone!
technology.
Shut up, phone! You're not on this podcast. The other thing I was going to say that you need to take into account is not even on the side. You have to take to shoot. No, I just lost.
Yeah, you're cutting out too.
Phone, I've railed me out.
It was cutting you out. Discord too. The phone's just ruining everything.
Everything it's killing me. That's what it was doing. I was gonna say. I think I'm not gonna remember this. I think it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it. I don't want to waste time on it. But I think just the VR in and of itself just requires. You've got space. You've got price. That's going to be affected by it. You need. Oh, I remember. The motion sickness, that needs to be taken care of as well. That's huge. Just motion sickness.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people out there who are either really sensitive to it or who are not. It doesn't seem to really care. Eventually, there's just a point where you end up playing the game for 30, 40 minutes and you have to take it off and just go lay down because you feel so nauseous. That's regardless of how much money you put into the hardware, or how much money you put into the software. If people have to stop playing after 30 minutes, to go lay down for 10 minutes and not do anything, that's an investment of an hour's time that you're just going to have to set aside knowing that you're going into this game to play for 30 and then you're going to have to stop. Otherwise, you might throw up.
The only way we can get past that meta is if we get on Sword Art Online level.
Sword Art Online,
where
yes.
it like jacks into your brain and you're literally in the freaking game.
Yeah, I agree, and that's exactly what we should do. Just
we're way off from that.
Skip virtual reality, go right to the brain. Just dump my mind into a world.
It just scans your brain. You're like in a coma for like a year.
Absolutely.
Or something.
And then I wake up and
you got long hair. You're in the hospital. You're hooked up to an IV. You stumble out. You start looking for your waifu.
Yeah, I gotta go find my waifu because that's mandatory.
Then you make a really shitty second season.
I don't know why I decided to do that, but I really felt like I needed to do a shitty second season, so I did for some reason. And then I decided to continue the series on after that, even though it rightly should have ended. But I'm just decided that at this point, why not? I've gone already in all the way.
You take your weapon and skill from the first game into the second game where they don't even exist. There's not even programming for them.
No, it's absolutely not.
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
But I decided to just hack the system immediately. I backdoor through the RAM, and decide to just immediately create my powers that were there before.
Get on it, Reki Kawahara. Make it a reality.
Make it reality.
Stop writing your visual novels and make your game stuff.
Bob, I have got the secret to the storyline in the future. But I don't know. The virtual reality, I think, requires just a lot of things that it's time. Unfortunately, virtual reality is just. They're playing with it. We want to do more with it, but nobody really wants to take a risk on it. And for good reason, there's not really a reason to take a risk on it. It's not, I mean, there's not even anybody out there I'd want to pay to try to take the risk. And I think that's a bigger issue as well.
So let's just not do it.
There's no investor out there that wants to go like, I'm willing to dump some money to see if this really succeeds, but who would I ask to do it?
Yeah,
and then
to really develop the technology.
And then you look out there and it's like, well, there's really no developers out there that are even working on this. So even if I gave them all the money in the world and all the time in the world, it would end up, costing me anyway. And then it would kind of sucky. I think this is just, we've gotten to that point where you can't really be too experimental anymore because there's too much money riding on that game of being a success and on a software and hardware that are both lacking. That's hard to do.
Yep, we're just
the real
not
question
there yet.
is how much of E3 is it going to take up?
God,
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm gonna laugh if they make like just a one-off comment at it. Oh yeah, and then there's also VR for it.
That would be the real
next game.
That would be a real like signpost. Like tell us how it's doing. I think
maybe we'll see. Maybe that'll be what we have to wait till to see where they really want to go with it.
I think E3 will probably be a good indicator.
So we'll know if these rumors are true at E3 or not.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's time for the next gen yet.
I don't either. I think we're still at least a year off.
It is not time. Yeah. The hardware inside of it right now is fine. It does exactly what we need to do. We are still seeing games come out that are making better use of that hardware. There are no true caps to it yet. We have not hit that wall. We're just getting close to it, to the point where it's finally time to say, okay, maybe we need a better processor or something that can really put out, because it's not going to be graphics. I'm sorry. It's not going to be graphics this time that gets like the real overhaul.
Yeah,
that was a complaint from PS3 to PS4. The graphics, it's so hard to get any better now. We're finally kind of plateauing, if you will. And there's really no point. And we've seen that. We've also got to the point where we've also starting to see where awesome, great graphics are not only immensely expensive to perform, but don't really guarantee a success for your game anymore. They don't even guarantee eye-opening, you're gonna get a lot of people to buy the game from the start because whoa, these graphics are great. They aren't anymore. That trend has died.
How many games out there, people the Fortnite? It's not exactly the most realistic, and how many people play it.
It's like early PS3 graphics.
Look at PUBG's graphics.
Yeah, it's not great either. They're like horrible. PS3 graphics also.
And yet they're succeeding.
Yep, and they have a good model and a good gameplay.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that are like that, though. There's a lot of games out there.
There are.
Like, for instance, to give you an example of like a game, and this is why I say processing is more important. For Honor. For Honor is a game on the consoles that runs at 30 frames, but on your PC will run at 60 frames. This is like something I would have loved to shout at them and said, reduce your graphics. Let me get a 60 frame version of this game and whatnot. Where that's something, if a new console comes out, I want to see. That's what I want to see. A new console that comes out whose processing power is so good that regardless of the graphics that they put on the game, they can say like, oh, and it's going to run at 60 frames.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
I have a dream that one day all games will be in 60 frames per second.
But then they'll be up to like 90 frames or 120.
And
you gotta do that.
Smooth.
You gotta do that.
Frames are so smooth, it's like cutting through butter.
Then that gives you motion sickness or something.
But I mean, like that's what I want to see. I want to see where games where 60 frames become the norm, and it's no longer making accommodations to achieve that effect.
That's definitely my preferred. Like, that's definitely where I want it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because about the only games that really run 60 FPS on the PS4 like your Animu games and stuff.
For Honor does it if you put it on the.
There's some on the PlayStation Pro will run like
but even some it still struggles to get up there though. It's not consistent.
Or some will have some will have the option of like graphics
graphics or whatnot. Like Neo did that, and that was actually something that Neo was one of the first games to kind of.
Yeah, I remember when they first announced that.
They said that we were specifically going out of our way to incorporate this for the system.
You know who ruined it? It was Microsoft when they didn't stick with the Scorpio name. I'll forever blame it on them. They ruined the next generation of console gaming.
They could have named him after such. Scorpio was an awesome name. That's exactly what they should have named him.
It was such a good name, and they probably honestly would have sold like a lot more systems if they didn't name it the Xbox One X.
I'm waiting until they get the Xbox 3 XXX. Just waiting.
Like a substantial amount, but like a few, like 100,000 maybe systems.
That's.
I mean, it's substantial, but yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Everybody was laughing when they named it that.
Everyone's been laughing at Xbox's naming system this whole generation.
True.
It's been kind of weird.
But, all right. Since we're off on such a tangent,
we're already off
that tells me that we need to wrap this up. This has been episode 48 of Podcast 5 Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast 5 Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with a full video releasing on Friday. We're on Twitter at Podcast5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast. Check out Meta and them stream, where he plays stuff such as the game he was talking about earlier that I can't remember, that I played. Yes, Divinity 2. I finally flubbed
the
again.
Game he mentioned earlier.
I did it. I flubbed again. Even my short-term memory is becoming crap. It's all going.
Just blame the pollen.
I will. It's a convenient scapegoat.
It is.
And we're going to be streaming. Oh, go on.
You know what? You could also go with a number of other ones. It wasn't running at 60 frames per second. There was a full moon out tonight. I stubbed my toe. The dog was barking across the street. You got excuses for days, Hobbs.
It's that damn truck guy next door. It's the damn truck guy.
That one guy who's revving his engine all the time.
Yep. It's all him.
All him.
And we're going to be playing some Monster Hunter tomorrow or 3 days ago on Twitch, and it'll eventually go up on the YouTube channel. We're at Podcast of 5 Rings on Twitch. So check us out then. We'll be back next week with some more stuff. Yeah. I don't know what it'll be because the news has been pretty slow as of late.
Yeah, it's been kind of slow. We'll see.
So we'll see. Maybe it'll be all discussion topics or something. But until then, we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Later.